we have this. Looks like we have Alina. So maybe you're just really good. Yeah, maybe.
We'll go with that.
I try my best to try to not complicate it, but sometimes it's almost impossible to not complicate it. So it can be tricky. Awesome. So we don't really have a topic. I was ramming my brain this morning trying to be like, hey, what can we talk about today with all these individuals that are running lead generation? And I know, last week we were talking about goals, and previously we were talking about, the mindset and the goals and the vision boards and why we got into real estate in the first place. And we'd asked everyone to kind of go back and kind of figure out what their what their goals were and what their vision and why they got into real estate in the first place, to kind of sit back and kind of reevaluate, why am I doing that? Why am I putting myself through this? And so I'm just curious in the group, if anyone, you can even just use the little icon to raise your hand, if anyone actually sat back and took a moment to kind of figure out for themselves and remember and recall why they got into the industry in the first place, and where they're looking to go with that. What does your vision board look like, whether it's an actual board or you just have it mentally, what your vision board looks like? Did anyone actually sit back and take a step back and kind of look at that when it comes to yourself and why you're doing that?
That's a phenomenal question. And thank you for leading off with that, because in order for us to continue to be successful, we have to remember why we started, right? So please speak up, because your whys and your vision boards help all of us. They help me as much as I help you guys. So yeah, whoever can jump in and tell us why did you start in this business? Silence.
They're quiet. I know, they're quiet.
Crickets.
People are quiet these days.
Listen, I know
I don't remember
people on here, and I can call you out if you want me to. I know exactly why some people that are on here started in this business. I started, it wasn't necessarily my choice. I'm a worker. So I always, even when my babies were young, I always wanted to work. And I started becoming our realtor that sold us our property, saw something in me and said, come work for me. And that's how I got in the real estate door. And then eventually, through the years of me being, an assistant for over 13 years, and I had a waiting list of people that wanted me to be their assistant, it kind of came down to the fact that my now ex-husband basically said to me, you've got to be kidding me. Like, you're seriously going to keep being an assistant for your whole career? Like, get your license. And that's what was the kickstart for me, was, okay, I guess I better now make this business my own.
And sometimes people see that in you too. They're like, why? Like, you're so good at that, you should do that. And, or, take the initiative to take the next step. Whether it's you're an assistant with something, or you're a laborer for a contractor, whatever it might be. Some people, they just kind of get stuck in that little bit of a daily routine. It's habitual. Like, we're just going, get up, we go to work, we have our job, we get up, go to work, we have our job. And then sometimes you see somebody and you can see, a positive future that's like, why are you still sitting in the back seat? Like, you have all the skills to be able to be in that driver's seat and leading the train, not, being the passenger. So some people definitely need that little boost of encouragement from those that surround them, that say, hey, I believe in you. I know you can do this. You'd be amazing at this job. Right?
And I see that in a lot of people too, especially as I'm interviewing agents to come on for the brokerage. There's definitely very distinct qualities that I see after being in this business since 1991 and having the privilege of working with a variety of different realtors before I got my license. So you can really pick the people that are going to be phenomenal. But I love this. Shall we read how some people got in the business?
Yeah, absolutely. So Nito said I was picked by a realtor who I bought my investment property. She taught me so I could join her. By the time I got licensed, she moved out of the country, so I had no choice but to get into real estate. Well, there you go. Maybe she had a plan for you all along. They're like, I'm just going to
That's
get her to do
amazing.
this, and then I'm
I
going to
love it.
leave.
I love it.
And Mitzi started with the possibility for financial freedom, more control of her schedule, the thrill of not working a routine job, and for the fulfillment of making a difference in the world.
Wow. Wow.
Mhm.
Mitzi, that is what a thing. You wanted to make a difference in the world. So use these things that remind you of why you got in the business, because that's your big why, right
Mm.
above, like you're wearing glasses.
Mhm.
I would like to know, I would like to know this, if it's okay if I ask a question to Mitzi.
Yeah, absolutely.
Um, have you felt that being in real estate, you actually have made a difference somehow in the world? Katrina, yeah, I'm gonna call you out, Katrina. I'd love to know what that difference is, if she could answer. It'll probably take her a minute. And Katrina, tell everybody your why, because Katrina's why is pretty phenomenal, if I'm going to say so. So allow her a minute to type her why. And you can't start crying when you're typing it either.
Just type and go la di da di da di da di da. Your brain gets blocked.
Oh, Mitzi got disconnected. She can come back for sure.
Oh, yeah.
So does everybody understand, when we talked the last time about the vision board and so forth, really what we're trying to say in regards to hanging in there with the leads and doing everything you can to convert? I'd like to know anybody's questions about that, and if you want to ask me again about my mindset, please ask me. Please, please, please. Okay, Elena's back.
Yeah, Mitzi's got disconnected as well. She wants you to re-ask the question that you just asked her.
Yep. So Mitzi, you mentioned that you really wanted to make a difference in the world. So I would like to know how you've been able to achieve that through real estate. What has that brought in to you that you can now sit back and go, I think I have made a difference? And we will wait for that. Okay.
Answer. All right.
Okay. Yeah. I had an agent the other day. I don't think she's on our call today. And this is where, when we're talking about mindset, and sometimes I probably do sound like a tape recorder, press play, Tara says the same thing over and over again. But I received an email from somebody. And, her email was, I got this on Monday. Hi, Tara. These leads suck. I'm not having any, I haven't converted any in whatever it was, a year and a half. Nobody's answering me, blah, blah, blah. Mm-hmm. So, Crystal, for me, because it's really easy to be negative minded. Mm-hmm. I'm very driven. In fact, I just redid my disc profile and I am driven. Mm-hmm. And I'm driven for a reason, because I committed myself to being in this business, meaning that I don't want to give up and I want to think positively about everything that comes in. And I right away, I replied back to her and said, okay, I hear you, but look at your mindset, right? Mm-hmm. I understand people get frustrated. I understand I get frustrated, but I never believe the leads are crap. Ever, not one day. I always say to myself, okay, for whatever the reason, this is not their time. So I'm going to believe that these leads are good, and I'm going to keep showing them that I'm the one that they're going to think of when the time is ready.
Mm-hmm. Yes. And then, and that response, or I guess from an agent with respect to leads, is actually quite common. These leads, like, and they're garbage, or no one's answering my call, or, and whether it's in real estate or anything else. And I'm kind of noticing this with other like jobs that I do, or just interactions with people, it's so easy to blame something else than it is to actually look at ourselves and take accountability for it. So often enough, when I look in those situations, the leads are not garbage whatsoever. The expectation of the agent with respect to these leads is off skew. They're anticipating, they're not seeing something, any kind of fulfillment instantaneously. And so they're all garbage because we're all just in that research stage. But reality is every single lead you generate is going to transact. So just remember that every single one of them, it's just a matter of when they decide are ready to transact and with who they're going to transact with, right? Yep. So be okay with the process that it could be 2 weeks from now, 2 months from now, 2 years from now. But regardless of what that timeline looks like, just know that if you sit in there and you work and you nurture, that you're increasing the chances that those transactions are going to go through you. Right.
Well,
but yeah,
if you walk into a store and you feel right away, when you walk into the store and you're in a miserable mood, maybe you're in a mood that you don't want anybody talking to you, and as soon as you walk through the door, the sales staff immediately get on you, and you're miserable about it because when you walked in, you were already miserable.
Exactly.
And I said this when Addo interviewed me, gosh, it was around this time last year. If you believe they're crap, if you believe they're no good, if you believe the lead lives too far and you don't want to work it, if you believe all those things, then it will be.
Yeah, you're writing the end of the story without actually being involved in it. Yeah.
Allow patience, allow the fact that if they don't reply to you, it's not the end of the world. That doesn't mean that they won't reply to you. What that tells me is they're just not ready. Mm-hmm. So on the weekend, I was up, I was everywhere on the weekend showing houses. And it was to, again, another lead that as soon as she came in, she sent me a text message and said, hey there, okay, I just logged onto your site and I've got about 5 houses I want to see. Do you know what I mean? And yet at the same time, and I've said this before, I'm listing a house where the leads came on 4.5 years ago. Mm-hmm. But I didn't delete, I didn't give up. I still do everything as I do regularly. And in my mind, it's okay, right? So we have, Crystal, mm-hmm. Did you see that where we've got, mm-hmm. Mitzi?
Yeah, so Mitzi is that. So we've got Gloria. We'll get to Gloria in just a moment. And then we'll get to Elena's as well. So Katrina said, first and foremost, I'm a single mom to a little girl and really wanted to be able to provide for her and have financial freedom. Second of all, real estate has always been my dream since I was a young girl, drawing floor plans and going to open houses. So after 23 years of working in retail pharmacy, I decided to take the leap of faith and go for my dreams. Which is good. It is a leap of faith sometimes, especially with real estate, right? You're commission based. There's no guaranteed income. You have to really work for what it is that you're earning. And for some that's for some people, unfortunately, it stops them from pursuing.
You're cutting in and out on us, Crystal.
Oh. Am I? Hold on.
I think. Or at least you
I don't know. I don't know if it's you or me. I don't know. I don't have anything going on. I don't know. Can you hear me okay now? Oh, I think you might be cutting out. Are you back?
Okay, I'm back.
Can you hear me? Okay. I think that maybe you were cutting out for a minute. The screen is frozen though.
I can't see you though, hon.
No?
Here we go again, eh?
Tech, it says your bandwidth is low. Maybe that's what it has to do.
Mine?
Yes, your bandwidth. It says on my screen that your bandwidth is low.
Okay.
So I don't know, not saying it can't be my computer, but my computer is telling me it's yours. So,
okay.
There we go.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah, it seems like we're back. Back. Perfect. Yeah.
All right. Sorry, guys.
No problem. So again, taking the control. And so I guess, the drive is really for Katrina as her daughter is making sure that, you're successful in her eyes, that she sees mom as hustling to make a living. And our kids actually really look up to that. Sometimes when they're little, you don't think about it so much, but even my son, he'll joke around with me. It was actually a few weeks ago, and he was joking around about spending money on this or that or whatever, and I was kind of getting frustrated, but he was doing it in a way that I think he was intentionally trying to get me going. And then later in the evening, he says, Mom, come here. He says, I was just joking about all that stuff. He says, I know you work really hard with everything you do. And I just want you to know I was just kidding around, and I didn't mean to make you upset about it.
Aww.
So it was kind of like they, as much as you don't think sometimes your kids notice what you do every single day and the amount of effort and the work and the hustle that you're putting into, making their lives better. Once they hit a certain age, they definitely do start to notice, when they're little, like my 7-year-old, money grows on trees with her, she could care less. But the older ones, definitely they start to realize and recognize, and they value that. And it's also what they are going to achieve to be, or you hope that that's what they're going to achieve to be, because you're setting that example. And then maybe make a little protege for yourself there, Katrina. She could be a little open house assistant.
Yeah. So that's pretty good. I like that. So the reason that we're asking these questions again is to never lose sight of the reason why you work so hard to get your license and get into the business. Because if you always keep that in the forefront, no matter how difficult this business can be, and it is very difficult, that will always keep you motivated to keep trying. And we have to step out of our comfort zone. We have to step out of our little box in order to be able to be successful. It's very difficult to just sort of keep yourself in a small bubble and only do what you're comfortable with, because people will require us to be more than that.
And I think it's sometimes learning how to be a little bit selfish for your own growth, right? We tend to often cater to everyone else and what they need and push our goals and kind of things to the side because this is what you need. Sometimes we have to kind of say, no, I'm going to be selfish in this moment. That's not what I'm doing. This is what I'm going to do. And it's hard to do. It's very hard to do that for many people, to be able to take control and not always bend over for everyone, and actually do and make a difference for ourselves.
And I think, there's times that you can reach that point. I think for the new agents starting out, especially ones that are using this as their sole income, some people get into the industry and they still have their full-time job. But when you're new in the industry, you really have to hit the ground hard. The competition is real. You have to do everything you can. As you start doing deals and you start seeing how much time this business can take from us and does take from us, then maybe there's times that you can start setting more boundaries. I certainly, and the ones that are on here that have known me for almost 30 years, because some of you do, I had a hard time setting boundaries for sure. But I always knew that my why was my children. So, if it meant that I had to miss a dinner because a listing appointment was during that time, I certainly missed the dinner. The benefits to my children definitely are there still. But I learned over years, okay, you know what? I've worked this hard. I've done this much now for 10 years. So now for the next 10 years, I'm going to take a step back. And now I'm going to shut off my phone at 8 o'clock, unless I'm doing an offer. Now I'm going to say, okay, Sundays, I'm really going to try not to work. Try to do that. It can be difficult. I find that's the most challenging of all. Is I always say to myself, if I miss this appointment, what if they decide to go somewhere else? And that's always, I feel, for me, one of the hardest challenges in this business was my full-time job. So what happens when I can't or I don't want to? right? So I'd love some Q&A right now about people, how they've kind of mastered this, the ones that are on our attendance right now. Time management is really difficult in commission sales. And I'm sure you get feedback from a lot of realtors, thousands, Crystal.
It is hard. It is hard. And people will actually respect your boundaries more than you think that they will. And they actually learn to respect you more if you set some boundaries as well. But again, it's really hard to do, right? Because we want to be as accommodating as we can. One thing you can do is like, what if you were actually fully booked that full day? You would have no choice but to say, you know what, I can't, unfortunately, I'm fully booked today. This is what I can do. And if they still can't, you say, okay, well, let me get back to you. I'm going to see if I can make some adjustments. So you can kind of play the game like, yes, I am fully booked. But if they can't sway, you can't get them to show up at a different day or different time. That means it's okay. Let me just see if I can move or shuffle some things around, and then I'll try to accommodate and show up for you for that. Right. So it's trying to set the boundaries the best you can. And again, some people are, oh yeah, they just say a time. Doesn't mean they can't do other times. They're not saying this is the only time I can do it. You know, that's another situation. Most people are flexible for the most part. But again, it also depends on the market. What is the market doing? Do we have to go see this today, or are they going to lose out on it? Right. So
yeah, that's a tough one. The market that we were in, especially when people were doing bully offers, you certainly, that's a really difficult thing to do. I find when I'm doing my day timer now, I know there's a certain part of the day that for me, because I'm older, I need to be home if at all possible. So I'm very clear when I book my appointments now. I know exactly when I'm not going to book them unless it's a worst case scenario, and that's the only time that my people can go out. I know from 7:30 in the morning until 11 a.m., that's my follow-up, that's my desk time, that's my agent locator time, that's my time blocking. So you'll see, if you ever had access to my date book, you'll see a lot of my appointments are from noon on. And that's even on the weekends as well. On the weekends, I've really started to learn that if I'm able to just have a little bit of what I call tea time, meaning I can have my coffee and I'm not running out the door at 9 a.m., I'll do everything I can to book my appointments from noon on the weekends as well. And I really hold true to that. If somebody needs 7:30 or 8 o'clock at night, I definitely will say, are you able to do this time or that time? And if they can't, I am certainly going to show the properties. I'm a realtor, right? This is what I signed up for. And I think that, it's such a hard, fine line. It really is. It's probably still to this day the most difficult for me. The best thing I ever did was put that message on my phone that said, if you're calling me after 8 o'clock at night, please understand that I will call you back after 9 a.m. in the morning. And the response I've had from people saying, oh my God, that's amazing. Thank you.
Well, you're actually saying what you're going to do, but yeah, it's also following through on it too, right? So
I do. Unless I'm in the middle of an offer, I don't answer it. I don't. I let the message pick it up, because that now there should be no reason to call me at 8:30, 9, 10:30 at night because you have a question about my listing.
Yeah. No.
Like, no. That's the thing that I've said.
Yeah. That's It's 11:30 at night. How many bedrooms is it?
Surprise, lady.
Yeah, I know.
I'm just like, really? Okay.
I know. Why don't you open up your computer and pull up the listing?
Yeah.
I can understand, but boundaries are definitely good. They are hard to stick to all the time. You guys can, if you're using an online calendar, or even print off to start like a calendar, kind of like you would see where it's got every day of the week and then the time slot. So take it and say, okay, from this and this, and you color code them different colors, right? This is my time. This is me time, right? This is my prospecting time. This is where I have offer showings or offers or whatever, and whatever your schedules all look like. And that's one thing to also you can refer to until you get into the habit whether you even put it in your online calendar or not, but you get into this habit of, always looking at what your availability is instead of just always jumping the gun and just booking whenever.
Yeah.
And it's having that that structure for yourself. It's also going to create more of a calm environment for you. You're not going to feel like you are chaotic. You've got so much going on your plate, and all of that stuff. I find that a lack of planning and organization creates a busier work environment. You got a lot of people out there like, I'm so busy, I can't keep up. And then they'll have like one buyer on the go. Yeah. And meanwhile, you'll have another person who could be very organized and structured, and they've got 5 listings and 3 buyers on the go, and they're still willing to take on more work because it's just a matter of how they balance and juggle and manage their business. And so it's, for some people it comes naturally, for other people it does not, right? So it's definitely a learning structure in how we organize our lives, for the most part. But that's why I always say use a calendar. One of my biggest things, use a calendar, because if you're not using a calendar, you're always thinking about everything you've got to be doing. If you put it down somewhere, it's now left your brain and it's somewhere else, and you know that you can rely on that to remind you that you have to do that. Yeah. Right. So we create our own busy sometimes. Well, it's like the guy that, when you go to the gym, you'll see there's actually a video I watched, and there's a guy just walking around the gym asking people how many hours a week do they work, right? Because a lot of people will say, I don't have time to go to the gym. I don't have time to go to the gym. And so everyone there, he was asking, they're working 40 to 70 hours a week, their job, but they still find the time to get to the gym because it's a priority for them. They're making the time to make that happen. And I think that's something that we could all, learn how to do really at the end of the day, because we do spend a lot of time doing things that eat up our time that aren't helping us in any way, right? But then it's chewing up our time, and then we don't have time to do the things that are really actually going to help us grow or develop or whatever it may be.
Yeah. I would love to know from some of the ones that are listening when they find their best time of day is to start doing some lead follow-up. I like to do mine in the morning. That's where I really am fresh, and I like to know that my day is, that's done. However, I'm constantly looking, as we talked about before, the relogin notifications all throughout the day. But I would love to hear different points of people of where they're finding success and what time of the day. Are you finding success in making some phone calls? We've switched things around a little bit here because, like I said, I'm always about testing and seeing what's working this month and what isn't working. Nick's on here. Maybe Nick could chime in as well. We started calling the leads when they first logged in and trying to see what kind of response we were getting. Typically before that, I was calling them around day 30. After that, they started getting some of the nice soft emails that we have in our drip. So I would love to know, because I think the benefit of this coaching is I'm so honored to be asked by you guys to do the live coaching with Tara, is I learned so much from other people as well. And I'd love this to be a forum where we all share, because we can all learn from each other, right? So, okay, Nick says emails in the morning, phone calls early afternoon have worked better for me because people are getting off work and are lunch and have more time to chat. That's interesting. So Nick, do you find that they're having a little bit of longer conversations now that you're calling more mid-afternoon? I'd like to know that. 100%, he said, Crystal. You can't make this up, people. You cannot make this up.
No. And that's where we encourage you guys to even time block different times of the day to make your calls, because your leads don't run on your schedule. They run on their schedules.
And
right. So
Crystal, they're in different time zones too. Right?
Yeah,
they're
exactly.
Not all from Toronto.
And so you could have working professionals that can never take a day call. their phone's a no-go. You know, if you call, let's say, or they were a dentist or a doctor or a teacher, you're never going to get them through the standard working hours, or it's going to be very hard to, because they just don't have their phones, right? Or you have people that work night shifts or sleeping during the day, right? So it's, if you're mixing up your call times, you're opening up the gates to have and connect with more of the leads in your database than if you're always sticking to the one time, because there could be a ton of people in there that are willing to talk to you. You just keep calling at a time they're not available to talk to you.
So Furman says he does emails in the morning, which I believe you have to do both every single day. I even think that when you make a call, you should also send an email that says, hey, Bob, just to let you know, I just left you a voice message on your phone. And you do calls, Furman, late in the afternoon. So late in the afternoon, is that maybe around 4 o'clock, 3 o'clock? And are you having good conversation with those people? Oh, and Tracy, 10 to 2, she does. Oh, Furman does his calls at 6 o'clock. Wow. You told me that when we were on the patio a couple weeks ago, I think. Do you find nobody gets mad at you that you're calling during dinner time? Are you having lengthy conversations? And if you notice, Crystal, Tracy does 10 to 2 and she does 7 to 8 at night.
Yeah, and those are all good times because you're catching them typically after dinner. That's between 7 and 8. And 10 to 2 is some will be at work, some don't work, and some will be, you'll be catching on their lunch breaks, because 11 to 2 is typically,
that's a great
scattered
time.
lunch breaks, right? So it's.
And Keith says he follows up with his leads while driving to and from appointments to make better use of time. Oh my gosh. When you're driving in a car, it's so good just to talk on the phone. And then around 1 to 2. Okay.
You get there faster because you're not thinking about the drive. You're just
oh my gosh, right?
Engaged in the conversation.
Yes, and I have myself a commute now, so now I do a follow up in my car. So Carmen says calling at 6 o'clock at night, they're actually very welcoming calls. So do you see how much this is so exciting to me? Look at I got the happy face. I love this because as much as I'm successful at converting leads, these little pieces of information are everything to really good lead follow-up and lead conversion. And do you find if you were to do your email follow-up during those times, do you think you'd have the same response, or do you notice that at different times? Katrina, if I ever get them. Katrina's trying Saturdays and Sundays as well. I'd like to know your response Saturdays and Sundays by your calls. That's amazing. This is so interesting to me. I do. I love this, Crystal. I'm having so much fun right now. I'm telling you.
Tara's brain's going a mile a minute. She's restructuring her whole business plan in the moment.
Furman does Sunday phone calls. Okay.
Great. Yeah. And Katrina's, it's a hit or miss.
Okay. That's fair. That's fair.
Which is normal.
Tracy does quick calls. If they're busy, then they know there's a human behind the system. This goes right back to the same thing when I made my calls. And when I was really heavy into the calls, gosh, I was really, really successful. It was simply just to say, hey, it's Tara calling from Tara Lee Real Estate. I just wanted to thank you for coming on the system so much. I really appreciate it. Right? Super quick. Yeah. Again, if you've ever listened to Nick, these aren't survey type questions. You're not going to, keep them on the phone while they're cooking dinner, always be aware if you can hear stuff going on in the background, it's time for you to check out. Yeah. My biggest advice in the book that I wrote about the scenarios of when to make calls is always let the lead direct the call, not you. You just introduce, you thank them for their loyalty, being on your site, and just let the conversation flow. And if it doesn't flow, just say, listen, if there's anything you ever need, please don't hesitate to give me a call. It doesn't get any easier than that, right?
No, for sure.
Okay.
Absolutely. And that's really all you want to be doing. Again, it's like focusing back onto your customer service. That's what you're here to do. You're here to service them and
Yeah.
provide them the resources and align them for ultimate success being that transaction. So the more customer service oriented you are, whether it's just that initial touch and just saying, I'm here if you need anything, or it's even in your follow-ups, right? It's just, again, it's just a soft reminder, letting them know that whenever you're ready, I'm here for you to assist, that sort of thing,
That's
right?
right.
So,
It's so easy. One of the realtors, his team that I coach, one of the best questions he says to me that he gets the best responses from is he does that. He simply just says, thanks, for coming on the site. I just wanted to introduce myself to you. Do you have any questions for me?
mhm.
Now he says, I open that rate up. I don't see anything. And he goes, 99% of the time, people will ask me real estate questions. What do you think about this or that? And I thought to myself, out of all these years of me doing lead conversion, I never really have said, do you have any questions for me?
Yeah,
So I think if we could make a point, and then I will do the kudos right back to Ross,
yeah,
because this is all Ross, this
yeah.
particular line.
Mm-hmm.
I would love to know if we can maybe next week just introduce that question and
Mm-hmm.
see the types of response you get. That's trial and error. If that works, that's gold for you further
Mm-hmm.
down the road.
Oh, absolutely.
I'm going to do
Absolutely.
that.
It's asking a question that is basically an indication that I'm here to work on your behalf. So what do you have for me? Is there anything I could be doing right now to assist you with
Right.
this? Or do you have any questions I can help you with? Like, I know you're not moving for a year or two, but if there's anything in any way, shape, or form that I could, provide answers or resources for, then just let me know.
Right.
Right?
And again, always remember that when we're doing our follow up, whether it's the emails, and of course, we have to have a drip campaign. Honestly, you have to have that. If you haven't got it already, use some of the ones that Agent Locator provide or create your own. But when we make the calls, always remember we don't know these people, but they know other people.
Yeah.
So as every time you open up your dashboard, never forget that it isn't just about that lead, but that lead will refer you to other leads. And that's been the case for me time and time again. So the way we follow up can impress somebody that even though they're not ready, their sister might be,
Mm-hmm.
right? So it's
Exactly.
so much more than just that person.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
You never know where you get your next referral from.
And I'd love to know how many people listening are actively using a drip campaign. Because remember, when the lead signs in, the lead's signing up to look at listings, right? So we already know with the agent locator, we have the automatic setup. I, of course, as all of you know, I revise that search because I want them to get a little bit more. And of course, I assign my drip campaigns. So I'd like to know how many are actively using drip campaigns. And if you're not, why aren't you? What's the challenge? Crystal, 2 weeks ago, we talked about trying to help people kind of get started into creating a drip campaign.
Mm-hmm.
Or changing some of the ones that are in there now to kind of make it
Exactly.
sound like them.
Mm-hmm.
I'm telling you, you won't be as successful as you can be if you haven't assigned a drip to your leads. And it gives you peace of mind so that when you're on the fly, and I am always on the fly, I know that as soon as the lead comes in and the drip's assigned, my lead's being taken care of until I'm back at my desktop the next morning doing my time blocking.
Mm-hmm. So still Sabrina's not sure how to use create a drip. That's exactly what our leveraging was on Thursday last week. That's why I posted it for y'all. It is on YouTube. I can send it to you, as well as Sabrina, if you want to just send an email to support, just requesting some assistance with drip campaign. They're going to assign it to the training department, and then I can get you aligned with a trainer to actually run through that with you.
Okay, we got lots. Look at the replies here. I'm using initial drip, then I've been able to get a response that, okay, a follow-up drip. Furman uses my drip. Thank you. Oh, thank you, Furman. The drip campaign, but what do you do after the campaign ends? Okay. Yeah. So the interesting thing about drip campaigns is they end, right? They do end.
Yeah.
So Agent Locator does have more continuous drips. And I think now, listen, as y'all know, I'm not super IT when it comes to Agent Locator. I know there's a lot more you can do with it than even I am. And Crystal's probably like, hurrah. But you do have the ability, correct me if I'm wrong, because I did watch this video, that when a drip ends, you can do a continuous.
You can
right?
loop it back around. So you can have it looping. You can also assign it to a different
Find a new
campaign.
one, right?
Yeah, so you can keep playing around with it. You can even do it so that at the end of your campaign, it creates a task for you to now check in on this person. Okay, my campaign ran, and there's a task at the end. Call Crystal, campaign is done. Whatever your intentions are with that individual. So then it's a reminder for yourself to kind of check in just in case you haven't spoken to them recently, and then maybe you're putting them on an alternate drip at that point, or a different drip, or the same drip. Who knows, right?
Yeah. So for me, when I created my drip, of course, it was a series of my emails that I had kind of tried and tested throughout all these eons of years. But my drip also includes an SMS. It also includes 2 spots where I've booked a task for myself. And it's usually in the middle of the campaign and at the end of the campaign, where I'm now going to be prompted by Agent Locator to look at Bob, go in and take a look and review the lead. I'm a big believer in you taking the time to go into each lead. Time might only be 10 seconds, but you got to open up the lead. You got to and check out what they're doing. And then at the end of the drip, I also incorporate another SMS from me as well. After my drip is done, I always send my people newsletters every month. If I've got new listings, open houses, they also get a new listing alert from me, an open house invitation from me. And I touch them myself after the drip is done. So I think as long as you're working your leads like a pillar of your business, just like you would work your past clients, you'll always remember, okay, it's mid-month, I want to send everybody a newsletter. So that after the drip is done, they're still hearing from you. And don't forget, they're still getting listings from you every day. The power of this is your name in their inbox every single day, because they'll always remember you're a realtor, right? Now, I have been tossing around creating another drip. Do I add them on it? So far for me, since I've been doing this in 1991, I don't need anything further, because my leads are hearing from me every day anyways, and they still use me. But I do think having another one may be worth it too. Okay, we got a lot of comments here. Yay!
Yeah.
Oh, thanks, Gloria. Such a sweetheart. Okay, so that's the link for the drips.
Yeah, so the Zoom link or the YouTube is the YouTube from last week for the leveraging on how to build these campaigns. Again, if you guys go to the, and I'll just put here, the training.agentlocator.ca, that one there also in the courses has a different breakdown of the how-tos, right? So there is one specifically on e-campaigns in there as well, which are, segregated videos kind of thing on building a campaign. Everyone's different, and how I put it is just build your template, try to build it, and then we can help you by looking at it and saying, okay, you did a great job. I have some people that are super tech savvy that do it, and I said, and she just had a little bit of confusion, so I had to go in there and change the delay periods. So other than that, it was built fine, right? So everyone is different. And it's just a matter of going through the steps of doing it initially and then understand it. Because once you build one once, then it's just like, okay,
Oh my
now
gosh,
I
it's
get it.
crazy.
Now I get it.
Crazy.
Right. So it's, yeah, it's,
I think the hardest part is for when you're creating your drip campaign is knowing what you want to say, and it's building the content first. So when I first started this, I knew it's like that Bible verse, do unto others as you want done to you. I wanted to create a system that would impress me if I was on the other end. So for me, and the way my wording is how I know I would react if I were getting sent this. So, start with the first one. And we did the first one 2 weeks ago. We kind of went over this with everybody. You guys could probably listen to the recording of it. But, the first one is basically, if you think to yourself, they've just registered, right? So they're new to your branded or unbranded site. They're now getting listings from you every day. So, if we take a step back and we go, okay, what should that first email be? Well, clearly it should be hey, thanks for coming on my site and registering to look at listings, right? And then we want to do a small call to action. In real estate, we all know what call to action means. It means that we want to kind of leave them with something that they might want to reply to, or they will reply to. For me, with my first email, it's super basic, right? If there's anything you want me to change in your search criteria, please don't hesitate to let me know. I'm always happy to help. And then think about your second one. When do you want that to go out? Do you want it to go out once a week? Talk to other people that have had drip campaigns. When I take my leads out and I show them houses, I know that if they're registered with me, they're registered with a lot of other people, with Agent Locator and maybe other lead gen companies. So when I'm showing them houses, a lot of them comment that my drip wasn't as intense as what other realtors do, because there are some drips that maybe some people have emails that go out every single day along with listings. So if you're finding you're not getting much of a response, you may want to now take away some of those emails because maybe you're hitting them too hard. And I've always been aware of that. So my drips have been, maybe once a week and then once every 2 weeks, where they're getting something from me that assures them that I'm a realtor and I'm here and I want to help them. Remember, they're getting listings every day, right?
You don't want to spam them. Some people, I've seen campaigns for their email, there's just so much going on. Well, that's why they're unsubscribing. You're basically spamming your leads with all this stuff. Is that what you wanted when you signed up for something? Probably not. You would have done the exact same thing, right? So yeah, it's kind of putting yourself into those shoes of the leads in there and adding value, not just filling up their inbox.
Yeah. Elena asked, can I comment on the seller campaign that I started? Oh, this causes me grief right now. Elena. Yeah. So I'm sticking with it. I'm sticking with it. I'm feeling like the seller campaign, I think I did over a period of 60 days. So far, when I first joined up with the Agent Locator seller leads, actually, I was really surprised. So this was probably about 2.5 months ago now. I actually got quite a few, maybe 4 or 5 within 2 or 3 week period of time. And then it's really tapered off. I haven't had one now in probably 3 to 4 weeks. When I set them up, I've yet to get much response. So I'm not touching it yet. However, I did call up all my seller leads and I did basically a reverse with Geo Warehouse, because we don't know who's signing up for these leads, right? It's really hard for any, in my opinion, lead company to validate, are you an owner? And I did find that some of my leads, they were not the owner, the registered owner on Geo Warehouse. I did also look at all of them, and I found 2 that actually did list, I think, the next day that they came on my site. So I'm pondering with the seller leads again. I'm going to start when I start getting them again, because it's been dry. I haven't gotten any. Maybe I need to do more phone calls. you
Mm.
know. So I'm playing around. This is very exciting for me. Crystal, I know you probably think I'm a freak, but this is really exciting because I know I can narrow this down.
Yeah.
I just got to start getting
Figure
more.
it out. Yeah. I know it's tricky. The sellers
Right?
sellers come in waves, right? So you have the demand of everyone wanting to see what their house is worth, and then they just kind of fall off. So it does come in waves. They're more expensive, and often enough, they're already a buyer lead in somebody's system anyway. Because what do we do when we want to go or we're thinking about making a move? We tend to go online to see what else is out there, maybe in our neighborhood or where we want to move to. So often enough, your buyer leads are your seller leads for less.
Oh, for sure they are.
Um,
For
and
sure.
then and
Yeah.
then your seller leads, it doesn't mean that they're not a seller, like they have no intentions of selling. A lot of them are just curious. They're looking to refinance, and or they've already committed to somebody and the house just went up. It's almost like they're trying to get a second online opinion of their home value that they're going to list with.
Absolutely. And I think that's the hardest part with the seller leads when you're doing them pay per click
Mm-hmm.
is they really think they can just press submit and they're going to get all the answers right
Yeah.
away, you know,
Yeah.
and I'm not into that at all. I will
Mm-hmm.
not give anybody a price on their home without me going inside that house, plain and
Yeah.
simple. So
Mm-hmm.
we'll play around with it. I decided to invest in the seller leads just a few months ago, only just to give it a try. I have been highly successful just with the buyer leads because, in all honesty, most of my buyer leads all have houses to sell. So that's why I've never really bought into the seller lead part with Agent Locator, but I have been happily surprised at how many I did get. Here in Ontario as well, the market has turned significantly. So it's not really a surprise to me that it's dried up because people here are seeing that the prices have dropped and they've actually dropped a fair bit.
Mm-hmm.
So I think there's probably not as much curiosity what my home is worth as there
Yeah.
was
Yeah.
January, March.
When
And
everything was just started to skyrocket, right?
yeah,
So
yeah,
yeah, I think it'll be interesting to see what the next 6 months does with interest rates and the market, you know,
yeah,
decreasing in value, kind of going back to kind of where it should have been. So it will be interesting to see everywhere, really, because everywhere is going to be different for the most part. Some areas, aren't as affected as other areas are. So,
yeah, yeah. But I
mm-hmm.
mean, the main takeaway from today is we have lots of options that we can do, and we can introduce our own personalities into each and every one of our leads. We just can't give up.
Mm-hmm.
Listen, never forget, and I will never forget this, that as a realtor, we have to go where the people are. And really, honestly, most of our people are Google searching realtors, houses for sale, and so forth. So even though you might not be experiencing a high turnaround rate away, you're putting yourself where everybody is. And
Mm-hmm.
that's why I'm a really big believer in the pay-per-click leads. And I'm also a big believer on the costs that I'm spending. So I'm not going to spend this money and take it away from another pillar of my business and not work it and
Mm-hmm.
not have a positive mind frame about it and never forget my why, because that's exactly why I'm here today, is
Mm-hmm.
because of Andrew and Austin Baylis. That's why I show up every single day. That's why when I had cancer and I still sold real estate. It always, always, always about those two boys. Sorry. It's always about those two boys.
Yeah.
I can have slow periods in real estate and I'm still here.
Yeah.
I'm still here, and that's why we started this program.
Mm-hmm.
What is your why? That's why we hang in there every day doing this business.
Mm-hmm.
Don't hate me for getting upset. That's how powerful my why is to me, and
Mm-hmm.
why I show up every day.
That's all you got to do. And that goes with your consistency and time tracking and management and all of that. It's kind of building on that why and why you're showing up. Why am I jumping into my system every day? This is why, right? And if we take it in bite-sized pieces, it's not an enormous job. It's a small task every single day, and you carry on, and it will, the fruit, it starts to, develop buds, and those buds grow, and then the fruit starts to grow. So it is a process, right? But you will get those one-off scenarios where people are ready to move right away. And again, if you're focusing on your customer service, a lot of your competition isn't. Okay, so they're in there for the sale. They're generating leads and trying to make the sale, and they're having a hard time with it, or they've got really deep pockets and they can afford to throw leads out the window. There is a lack of customer service with these leads. And again, it goes back into what Tara's saying, put yourself in their shoes, right? What would you be looking for from somebody if you were inquiring about something, whether it's a house or a car or a new appliances, whatever it might be? What would you be looking for that person to be doing for you while you're in this, research or educational phase of your move?
Yeah.
Yeah. Sometimes it's just them giving us answers or resources to consider so that we can make a decision that's best suited for us, right? And if we always stick to somebody else's word, then we end up disappointed because we bought what they said to buy, and then we're mad that we bought it because it's crap. So we didn't make the decision, they made the decision for us. So it's just really, again, and that's also where, Alina, I think you mentioned something about if the leads unsubscribe, call them. There's no reason why you shouldn't call them. It goes back onto your customer service. If I was like, hey, Lena, I just wanted to unsubscribe from my website, and I just wanted to check in and make sure, or just have a good understanding here. What could have I done differently to keep you on board? What was the reason behind that? Again, you're going to learn from it. So maybe you were just spamming the heck out of them with all these email newsletters and whatever. Or maybe they didn't mean to unsubscribe, right? Or maybe they just put their move on hold. So it doesn't mean that there's no intent still there after the unsubscribe, but it allows you to develop. And some people are like, oh, wow, she actually reached out to me afterwards. And it shows a lot sometimes. Shows a lot about your character.
Yep. And she does say she's actually able to convert some. So that's really good.
You can, because if their plans change as well, sometimes it's just, okay, well, let's reduce the frequency of these listings for you then. I want to be adding value for you, or maybe depending on your board, you can offer them sold listings. Well, okay, I understand you're not planning to buy just yet, but let's get you up to receive some sold listings in your neighborhood so you can watch what your home value is doing over time.
Yeah.
Right. So there's a lot of different angles you can go. Sometimes it comes down to comfort level. Oh my gosh, they unsubscribe, they don't want to talk to me. And that's your mindset. Everyone wants to talk to you. Don't tell yourself they don't.
Yep, it's true. True. Ross told me that when he calls back the unsubscribed ones, a lot of them didn't mean to. They hit the button by accident. So, and he's actually ended up converting some when they put them back on. So I think it's always worth giving a call or sending a message somehow just to make sure.
Yeah.
Let me follow up. Okay. Yeah, there you go. So she's got this figured out. I love it.
Everyone's different. We have one question that I just wanted to, it's kind of off topic, but when it's just with respect to when a lead asks you to show a house, do you ask questions about pre-approval budget, or you just show all 5 houses and ask them questions while you're on the showing? So it's kind of referring back to, I guess, that lead that came and just registered and said, I have all these houses I want to go look at. How do you handle a scenario like that with the lead?
So I'm always about showing them the property. I'm always about 100%. I ask them if they've been pre-approved yet, and I ask them what their budget is. I have that conversation with them usually over email or on the phone, depends how they've contacted me. When I meet them, then of course I go into a lot more detail with them for sure. I do this. I like to show them properties. If they were to say to me they weren't pre-approved, I'm not going to take them through somebody's house if they're not even pre-approved. I find most people say they are. But when I meet them, then I kind of get into a little further discussions on how long they've been looking and so forth and so forth. My big thing with my leads is I really want them to meet Tara. and they say they can see a bit of tarot over the emails, and I believe that. But I know when I get face to face with somebody, I can solidify that connection. This particular lead that I had out, she sent me an email when they got back, and she said, my husband and I absolutely adored meeting you, and we'd really like you to be our realtor. And I thought to myself, once they met me, they saw something that they didn't really see the full extent of through these emails and the drip campaigns and so forth, right? It's that fun part of tarot. It's let's have fun. And, that quirkiness that came out, that when they got home, I got that beautiful email from them. And I think that's phenomenal. So try to make that one-on-one connection. There's a lot of if you're on a team, a lot of team leaders say before you go out, we'd like you to have that buyer appointment. Do whatever you feel is best, because I really believe that one-on-one connection is so huge in this business, especially if you want to have a relationship built business.
Exactly. That's why I also encourage door knocking, because that's where you, like, if they answer the door, you've got that first one-on-one impression, right? Where they can actually witness you and see your quirkiness and, your tone, your expression, how you, it's just your body language, all of that, right? And sometimes you just hit it off with people, right? They might not be moving for 4 or 5 years, or they just moved in, but you just hit it off, right? And then every periodic, however long, you kind of check in every now and then, and you've already established that foundation, right? So it's,
I'm a big believer in door knocking. We've really been making a habit over the last 3 weeks. Kudos to Nick right now, of not flyer dropping, but door knocking. And sure enough, he was out last week, ended up coming across somebody that he knew, that he had gone to school with. The parents were home. Oh, we're thinking about selling. Do you know what I mean? Had he not have taken the minute just to knock on the door, and it's so easy to do. I'm a big believer in it. I was door knocking maybe 3 years ago with a realtor here at the office, and her and I decided we were going to do it together, because it can be kind of doing it alone. And we door knocked this entire street. We came across this lady with gardens. She was gardening, and she was, oh my gosh, she loved her gardens. Let me tell you, she talked to us easily for half an hour about every plant in her garden. Anyways, we left her the info, and I got back to my car and my phone rang, and if it wasn't her. And she said, I just wanted to thank you girls so much for talking to me. I really appreciate it. And by the way, I thought I'd let you know that my son is looking to buy an investment property. I mean, you can't make this up. You cannot make this up. And she said, I've just given him your name and number. Is that okay? She probably wouldn't have made that call if we had just left.
Yeah, you just drop it out the door and like.
And I'm all over leaving a flyer too. I mean, if they're not home, leave your stuff. But just taking a couple of minutes just to say, hey, listen, I'm Tara. I'm a local realtor. I just wanted to drop off my info. If you know anybody, I appreciate if you pass my name along.
Compliment your flowers.
Yeah. Yeah.
Do you, Priyanka's just asking, when you're door knocking with another agent, what business card, like, do you leave behind both business cards, common flyer, both realtors, like?
So in this particular instance, we decided to target this street, and we kind of just said we team up together for this street. So we went to Vistaprint. We got, flyers just with both our faces on it. Of course, we were with the same brokerage, so it didn't matter. That's what we did. Otherwise, I'm all for, if you just have your own stuff, you leave one in one door, the other realtor leaves one in another. The way that we worked it was any business that we got from that street, we shared the listing together, and we did 50-50. That's just how we worked it out. Everybody kind of has their own gig, but it was really fun when we were doing it, in all honesty, because we looked forward to it. And then we would go, have a coffee after, and we did it in the middle of winter, like freezing. And honestly, people got to know us. One of the best success I've ever had in farming was this particular street. We hit it every 2 weeks, the two of us. And we always tried to go right around when the buses were coming back, so parents would kind of become familiar with our faces. And it was December 30th, we decided to go door knock that entire street again. And we simply door knocked by saying, listen, it's Tara and Angela. We just wanted to wish you a happy new year. And I'm telling you, everybody lost their mind. We didn't give them any information because they'd already had it every 2 weeks for 6 months prior, right? And they were like, oh, thank you, happy new year. And we had the best talks. And still to this day, we're still farming that area. We still work on that area. They get newsletters and so forth. So it's pretty cool what you can come up with.
Oh, absolutely.
Make it
Thinking
fun.
outside the box. Yeah, you got to make it fun for yourself, for sure.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, thank you, Tara. Thanks, everyone. It's a lot of participation today, so that's great to see. Work on your vision boards.
Yes.
Mental awareness of what you got to do every day and your why, right? So why are you in this? And everything will just kind of fall together.
It will. I promise. Don't give up. Have a good attitude and know you can do this. If I can do it, all of you can do it. Trust me.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Right. Perfect. Well, thanks, everyone. Thanks, Tara. We'll see you in a couple weeks.
All right, girl. Bye, guys.